Protesters in Myanmar filled the streets on Tuesday, despite a military ban on gatherings, curfews and closed roads. It was the fourth day of protests against last week's military coup. In the capital, Naypyidaw, police fired gunshots in the air to disperse the crowd, witnesses said. Media later reported police fired rubber bullets, and a doctor said at least 3 were hurt. Earlier, they had used a water cannon for the second day in a row on protesters. There were also more than 24 arrests in the second largest city, Mandalay, by the afternoon, including 1 journalist, according to local media reports. In the largest city, Yangon, people clapped and held a 3-finger salute of resistance only meters away from police barricades.
North Korea bolstered its nuclear and ballistic missile programs in 2020 using stolen funds, a violation of international sanctions, according to a confidential United Nations report seen by Reuters on Monday. The independent report concluded that North Korea stole some $300 million last year through cyber hacks. It added that Pyongyang has used the money to, quote, produce fissile material, maintain nuclear facilities, and upgrade their ballistic missile infrastructure. In the past year, North Korea boasted new ballistic missiles at military parades. Judging by the size of them, an unnamed UN member state assessed in the report that it's likely a nuclear device could be attached. Independent sanctions monitors compiled the annual report to the UN Security Council's North Korea Sanctions Committee, which comes just weeks after U.S. President Joe Biden took office.
Moving on, China has justified the intrusion of its Coast Guard vessels into Japan's territorial waters. Beijing says that the Senkaku Islands in the East China Sea are its inherent territory. Japanese media reports say that the Chinese government introduced a legislation allowing its Coast Guard to use weapons against foreign ships that illegally enter its waters. This has sparked fears that Japanese vessels navigating around the Senkakus would be targeted. Now, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson has said that Beijing's patrol and legal enforcement activities in the waters are legitimate measures to safeguard sovereignty in accordance with the law. Japanese media has also reported that Chinese Coast Guard ships entered the country's territorial waters for a second day in a row. According to Japan Coast Guard, 2 Chinese ships intruded near uninhabited islands.
It was supposed to be presidential election day in Somalia. But following a dispute over the way the poll was to be organised, it hasn't happened. Instead, a coalition of opposition candidates have now declared the government of President Farmacio illegitimate. In an interview to be broadcast on Talk to Al Jazeera, the Foreign Minister, Mohammed Abdulrazak, told me that's wrong. The government will stay in office until an election can be held. Well, after that time, after that 4 years, he is no longer legitimately the president.
No, there cannot be a vacuum. The federal parliament in both chambers have signed, voted for by a majority of 215 in the lower house and 40 senators to have a law that would allow for the parliament with its full authority to continue with its mandate and for all the institutions of the federal government to continue.
For most of the women here, this is the first time they've ever handled a gun. Young black women make up the majority of the class, and the statistics show that they are the most vulnerable to violent crime. Almost everyone here is a survivor of a violent attack or sexual assault, or knows someone who is.
It's mainly because if you look at our country, statistically, the young black female is the most impacted by crime. We all are, I mean, all races and genders, but statistically, I just figured, young black women need to also know how to be their own first responders.
As the crime rate increases, the police's ability to respond is stretched thin. Research shows the average response time to a violent crime in South Africa is now 15 minutes.
"20 women were murdered in Israel in the past 12 months, 18 of them while the coronavirus pandemic was raging. That's a rise of 33% in 1 year alone. The most recent case occurred on Friday when an Israeli police officer confessed to murdering his wife, 35-year-old Diana Raz, by firing 2 bullets at her, one of them to her head. Diana was a relationship mentor who had counseled thousands of women over the past 14 years on abusive relationships, after escaping one herself. On her website, she said that she was now married to, quote, an amazing man. Her husband, Amir Raz, told investigators that their 4 small children witnessed the shooting. He was arrested.
Wuhan's Swanan seafood market may have made it possible for the novel coronavirus to spread, but that does not mean the virus originated there. This remark was made by Russian expert Vladimir Dedkov, who is a member of the World Health Organization's expert team currently in China to investigate the origin of COVID-19. He said, "There is no evidence that the virus originated there, but hypothetically, there are all conditions for the spread of the virus there." The seafood market was linked to an early cluster of COVID-19 cases, but scientists have yet to come to an unequivocal conclusion regarding the role it played in the contagion. Dedkov also refuted the theory of a virus leakage while visiting the Wuhan Institute of Virology along with 9 other WHO experts.
The Bitcoin craze has reached new heights thanks to Tesla. The announcement by the electric car company that it bought $1.5 billion worth of the cybercurrency and may start accepting it as payment drove the Bitcoin price soaring, at one point Monday up more than 14% to over $44,000 per unit. Tesla announced the move in their annual company report and said buying Bitcoin was all part of a larger strategy to diversify in alternative assets. But Tesla is a product of its flamboyant founder, Elon Musk. Recently named the world's wealthiest person, Musk has long boasted of Bitcoin's promise. He often uses his Twitter platform, with more than 45 million followers, to promote not only Bitcoin, but other little-known cyber currencies.